When people think about Buddhism, they usually imagine India, Sri Lanka, Tibet, China, or Japan. Greek culture, on the other hand, brings to mind philosophy, sculpture, mathematics, and the birth of Western thought. These two worlds seem distant and unrelated. Yet history tells a far more fascinating story. Buddhism and Greek culture met, interacted, and influenced one another in ways that still shape how Buddhism is understood today. This encounter was not superficial. It reached deep into art, philosophy, language, and ideas about the self, ethics, and reality. The meeting between Buddhism and Greek culture began in the wake of Alexander the Great's campaigns in the 4th century BCE. When Alexander's armies reached the edges of India, they did not simply conquer territory and leave. Greek settlers, administrators, and thinkers remained in these regions for generations. Large areas of Central Asia and northwestern India became culturally mixed zones where Greek and Indian ideas existed side by side. These regions later came to be known as the Indo-Greek kingdoms. This historical context is crucial. Buddhism was still relatively young at this time, spreading actively beyond its place of origin. Monks traveled widely, and royal patronage helped establish monasteries along major trade routes. At the same time, Greek culture was deeply philosophical. Greeks were not only warriors and rulers. They were thinkers who asked fundamental questions about life, suffering, ethics, and the nature of reality. These questions overlap surprisingly well with Buddhist concerns. One of the most striking areas of interaction between Buddhism and Greek culture is art. Before Greek influence, Buddhist art avoided depicting the Buddha in human form. Instead, his presence was symbolized through footprints, empty thrones, wheels, or trees. After contact with Greek artists and aesthetic traditions, this changed dramatically. In the region of Gandhara, Buddhist statues began to portray the Buddha as a human figure for the first time. These statues clearly reflect Greek artistic techniques, realistic anatomy, flowing robes resembling Greek togas, detailed facial expressions, and a sense of proportion rooted in Hellenistic sculpture. This was not a superficial borrowing of style. The visual image of the Buddha that later spread across Asia was deeply shaped by this Greco-Buddhist synthesis. The calm, balanced, human Buddha figure that many people recognize today owes much to Greek artistic ideals of harmony and realism. In this sense, Greek culture played a direct role in shaping how Buddhism would be visually understood for centuries. Beyond art, there are philosophical resonances that suggest deeper exchanges. Greek philosophy, particularly schools such as Stoicism, Cynicism, and Pyrrhonian skepticism, shares intriguing similarities with Buddhist thought. Both traditions examine suffering, desire, impermanence, and the possibility of inner freedom. While they developed independently, their encounter likely sharpened and clarified these ideas. Pyrrho of Elis, one of the founders of Greek skepticism, is a particularly interesting figure. He traveled with Alexander's army and is believed to have encountered Indian philosophers, possibly including Buddhist or Jain practitioners. After returning to Greece, Pyrrho taught a philosophy centered on suspending judgment, letting go of rigid views, and achieving tranquility by not clinging to beliefs about what things truly are. These ideas bear a striking resemblance to Buddhist teachings on non-attachment to views and the calming of mental disturbances through insight. Stoicism, too, echoes Buddhist principles in certain ways. Stoics emphasized understanding what is within our control, accepting what is not, and reducing suffering by changing our relationship to events rather than trying to control the world. Buddhism similarly teaches that suffering arises not from events themselves but from craving, aversion, and ignorance. While Stoicism and Buddhism are not the same, the parallels suggest that Greek thinkers were at least open to ideas that resonated strongly with Buddhist psychology. Language and concepts also traveled across cultural boundaries. Greek became a common administrative and intellectual language in many regions where Buddhism flourished. Some Buddhist texts were likely discussed, translated, or explained using Greek philosophical vocabulary. This would have required Buddhist teachers to express their ideas in ways that could be understood by Greek audiences, potentially influencing how certain concepts were framed and emphasized. Ethics is another area where Greek and Buddhist ideas intersected. Greek philosophy often focused on virtue, self-mastery, and the cultivation of character. Buddhism emphasized ethical conduct, mindfulness, and wisdom as foundations for liberation. In both traditions, ethics were not merely rules imposed by divine command, but practical guides for living well and reducing suffering. This shared practical orientation may have made dialogue and mutual understanding easier. It is important to note that Buddhism did not become Greek, nor did Greek culture become Buddhist. The influence was selective and contextual. Buddhism absorbed certain artistic and expressive elements from Greek culture while maintaining its core teachings. Greek thinkers, in turn, did not convert en masse to Buddhism, but some appear to have been influenced by Indian and Buddhist ideas in subtle ways. This was not a one-way transfer of beliefs, but a complex exchange shaped by historical circumstances. The Indo-Greek kings themselves played a role in this interaction. One of the most famous is King Menander, known in Buddhist texts as Milinda. According to these texts, he engaged in deep philosophical dialogues with a Buddhist monk named Nagasena. The resulting work presents Buddhism in a question-and-answer format that closely resembles Greek philosophical dialogue. Whether or not the account is entirely historical, it reflects a genuine attempt to bridge Greek rational inquiry and Buddhist insight. These dialogues show Buddhism presenting itself not as a faith-demanding belief, but as a philosophy open to questioning and reasoning. This would have appealed strongly to Greek intellectual culture. The Buddha's emphasis on investigation, experience, and understanding rather than blind faith resonated with Greek traditions of debate and inquiry. Over time, the Greco-Buddhist regions declined due to political changes, invasions, and shifting trade routes. Yet the influence of this cultural encounter did not disappear. The artistic forms developed in these regions spread widely, shaping Buddhist art across Asia. Philosophical resonances continue to echo, even if their historical origins were forgotten. In the modern world, interest in Buddhism among Western audiences often emphasizes its philosophical and psychological dimensions. This framing sometimes feels natural to people educated in Western philosophical traditions. In a subtle way, this may be a distant echo of the ancient encounter between Buddhism and Greek thought. The idea that Buddhism can be approached as a practical philosophy rather than a belief system aligns closely with how Greek thinkers approached life. Understanding Buddhism in the context of Greek culture challenges the idea that civilizations develop in isolation. It reminds us that ideas travel, adapt, and evolve through contact. Buddhism's ability to interact with Greek culture without losing its essence demonstrates its flexibility and depth. It also shows that ancient cultures were far more interconnected than we often imagine. The story of Buddhism in Greek culture is not just a historical curiosity. It invites us to reconsider rigid boundaries between East and West, religion and philosophy, faith and reason. It shows that dialogue across cultures can produce something genuinely new, something that neither side could have created alone. In this meeting between Buddhist insight and Greek inquiry, we see a shared human effort to understand suffering, meaning, and freedom. Different languages, different symbols, but similar questions. That shared questioning is perhaps the most enduring legacy of their encounter, reminding us that wisdom is not owned by any single culture, but grows where minds are open and ideas are allowed to meet. Thanks for watching. Our channel is new and needs your support. In our channel you can find many videos on the history and philosophical teachings of Buddhism. Please subscribe to our channel to support the teachings of Buddha on YouTube. You can download our app from Google Play. Get notifications, daily quotes from Buddha, guided meditation methods, articles about Buddhist wisdom and sutras from Pali Canon. Discover inner peace, cultivate mindfulness, and unlock the infinite wisdom of the Buddha with this app. Download link below.